So, yun, a pleasant day everyone. So, before we start the discussion, let's have a pre-quiz first. This quiz is not recorded but I hope all of you will be participate. So, I will share the link and I know a lot of you already familiar in quizzes. I will give everyone some minutes to enjoy and have a prior knowledge based on the topic that we will be tackled today. So, familiar naman tayo lahat sa may quizzes, ano? So, gusto lang namin muna kayong mag-enjoy bago kami mag-discuss. Share ko yung link. Wait.
So, ayun, thank you po sa mga sumagot and congrats po sa mga nasa top scores or top score na si Miss Asime. So, our report is about the purpose of communication. So, let me start our report. So, communication varies depending on the purpose and the way the message is crafted on the intention of the sender. For example, a news anchor delivers information carefully so that all the important news and facts are stated clearly to avoid misunderstanding and confusion of the audience. On the other hand, a lawyer is designing his arguments supported by facts to convince the judge or your judge communicating with the other person face to face or through phone call. So this shows that the purpose of communication can be informative, purposive, or argumentative. So what is informative communication? What is purposive communication? And what is argumentative communication? So to discuss the informative communication, here are Miss Sabalan and Miss Gumban.
Thank you, Ms. Fernandez. Before we proceed our discussion for today, let me ask first a question. What is your own understanding about informative communication? Anyone can answer po. Ayan, Ms. Villanueva, can you please proceed?
Sa pagkakaintindi ko sa informative communication, isa to yung nade-deliver tayo ng interesting information, parang mga facts about sa topic natin. Then, example nito yung mga lectures ng isang teacher, reports, or mga training sa seminar. Ganun po.
Thank you, Ms. Villanueva, for your answer. Mr. Bautista, may pahabol ka po bang kasagutan?
So, so parang ganun din yung sa akin. So gusto ko lang dagdagan yung para sa akin, salitang informative. Para siyang talagang lahat ng detail nandun. Yung informative para siyang formal na mensahe or communication na talagang andun lahat. Very informative yung kapag nabasa mo, kapag narinig mo, yung hindi ka magkakaroon ng question kasi nga sobrang informative niya kung malalaman natin. Yun lang.
Okay. Next po is Ms. Gallardo.
Yes, thank you po. So for me, yung informative communication, yun yung nag-i-inform ka sa audience mo about a certain topic or kaya nagpo-provide ka ng mga unique na information na pwedeng makuha or mag-gather ng mga audience mo. Yun po.
Thank you, Ms. Gallardo. Okay, let's proceed. In informative communication is typically focuses on discussing people, events, processes, locations, or things. Nevertheless, it can be challenging in inform an audience about one of these topics without being condescending. In informative communication, when you communicate with someone in an educational way, you want them to pay attention and comprehend, but not to alter their behavior. And also, sharing knowledge helps to eradicate ignorance. Next, please. For the example of informative communication, you may proceed, Ms. Gumban.
Thank you, Ms. Tabalan. Okay. First, I would like to ask some of you, what can you say about fake news or misinformation in social media and how you can handle it? Some of you, can you answer po? Kung gusto niyo lang naman sumagot. Wala. So, para sa akin, ang masasabi ko sa mga yung fake news sa social media is hindi sila nakakabuti para sa mga ibang tao. Katulad na lang ng nagawa sila ng fake news or may mga shit, kasi parang mas lalo lang sila ina-attack ng ibang tao. So, hindi lang po hindi lang po isang tao yung na naapektuhan kundi po yung iba ring tao. So, ang sabi ko po is dapat bago tayo mag-share ng isang bagay, kailangan muna natin ng may ebidensya or magpapatunay na totoo po yung i-share po natin na information. Okay? Here din sample communication. Po yung sa social media and sa TV. Siyempre, nanonood po tayo doon. Mas lalo po tayo nagkakaroon ng idea kung ano po yung nangyayari. Katulad po sa pagtaas po ng COVID, kung paano siya nag-i-increase or kailan po siya tumataas, kung nakakatulong ba, or katulad din po yung pagtaas ng asukal. Nagkakaroon po tayo ng idea. Then sa lecture naman, ito naman po yung mga pinipresent po. Katulad ngayon, nag-lecture, katulad yung kay sa teacher, nag-lecture siya how important of this or ano bang mga meron sa ngayon, katulad nito sa informative communication na dinidiscuss po namin, kung ano yung nilalaman nito. And sa training seminars, and alam niyo naman sa mga training, katulad sa mga, kung sino man dito yung nag-work sa mag-work. Siyempre, nagkakaroon muna ikaw ng training para malaman mo kung ano ba talaga dapat mong gawin. So, they give information about that. So, nagkakaroon ka ng idea kung paano mo i-handle yon. And demonstration. Demonstration sa word demo. So, pinapakita niya kung ano nga ba to or sinasabi niya para magkaroon ka rin ng idea. So, next slide po. Okay. Purpose of informative communication na i-discuss ni Sabalan.
Thank you, Ms. Gumban. Okay, let's proceed for purpose of informative communication in informative speech. An informative speech is to provide enlightenment regarding a specific topic that the audience knows nothing about. Next slide. There are 4 types of informative speech. The definition is speech, demonstration speech, explanatory speech, and descriptive speech. In definition speech is a communication through talking or talk given to an audience. And definition speech is a communication through talking are sometimes referred to as a process or how to speech because they often entail demonstrating something, and also this speech is require you to provide steps that will help your audience understand to accomplish a specific task or process. And explanatory speech is one of the type of informative speech that explain the state of a topic. And descriptive speech is one that aims to inform or educate the target audience on a particular topic. Next. The purpose of informative writing and communication, Ms. Gumban?
Purpose of informative writing and communication. Ito po yung informal writing educate the reader by imparting straightforward to information or certain topic. Siyempre, kapag nagsusulat po yung isang tao, siyempre yung topic niya po is nandun at nagbibigay din po siya about sa mga readers kung ano po ba ang kailangan niya malaman or information na dapat kailangan ng isang tao. So, next slide po. I hope you understand. Okay. Here, the 4 types on information of writing. Literary non-fictions. Ang non-fiction po is must also contain facts which is informations that can be provided to be true. Ito po yung mga personal diaries, kung dati po is, nung senior high school po kasi ako, is meron po kaming writing na ginawa about sa vlog, about po dun sa lugar, and kung ano, nagbibigay po kami ng information about doon sa mga naging karanasan namin po doon na may katotohanan po and evidence. And sa second po is expository writing. Sa exploratory writing po is nandito po yung investigate o and investigate or an idea, expand of the idea. Ito po yung mga academic essay or magazine article and scientific report. Di ba po kapag sa science is kapag tapos na tayo mag-perform ng isang bagay, di ba po kailangan gawan natin ng report kung ano po yung masasabi natin at makapagbigay tayo ng information sa mga classmates natin kung ano ba yung nangyayari, bakit naging ganun siya. Okay? And next, argumentative prose writing. The word pa lang ng argumentative sa argumentative argue is the piece of writing that stands on the issue. So, ayun po yung sa argumenting. Kailangan may evidence ka po and yung puro lang po siya is expose the fact. Kailangan po yung meron kang kinuha kung saan mo yon and kailangan po is meron ka pong opinions and thoughts about that so you can give other information of the reader. Okay? And the last one, procedural writing. It's procedural writing. So, what po na procedure is ito po yung nagbibigay ng direction o step and explain to the reader. Katulad naman po ng mga recipe. Sa nakikita po namin sa TikTok. So, di ba? They give some of guidelines na kailangan po natin sundan para po ayun po, yung sa direction po. Sa direction po, nagbibigay po siya ng direction para magawa mo yung isang bagay at makapagbigay siya ng information kung ano po yung gagawin mo. Ayun lamang po. And next slide po, ay i-explain.
So, thank you for that, Miss Sabalan and Miss Gumban. Am I here loud and clear?
Yes po.
So, thank you for that. So, bago tayo dumako sa purposive communication, kung kanina sa informative ay nag-share kayo, pwede ko bang maitanong kung ano naman yung naiisip nyo kapag nakikita o naririnig nyo yung tungkol sa purposive communication? Okay, si Miss Gallardo.
Thank you po. So, for me, yung purposive communication, isa po siyang klase ng communication na ang ginagamit ay yung pagsulat, yung pagsalita, tsaka yung pag-present mo sa mga nakikinig sa'yo ng iba't ibang purposes ng yung purposive communication.
So yan, very good, Miss Gallardo. Anyone, sino pa pong gusto mag-share? Kung wala na so please makinig po kayo sa aming discussion ngayon. So for purposive communication, it is the spreading of a message or an idea to a specific group of audiences in the best suite formats and through the right channels. While there can be different forms such as oral and written, the message that are being shared are properly formatted and structured to serve the inherent purpose. So, from the word purposive, it means the purpose or yung intention ng information na ginagamit mo to communicating. So, also the word of communication, it is the process of information is exchanged between individuals or between you and you communicating with. So, purposive communication is communicating with a purpose. So, tama din yung nabanggit ni Miss Gallardo kanina na yung purposive communication is nag-shared with a purpose. So it can be an oral or written. So next, so I will discuss the examples of purposive communication. First is talking intelligently on a subject of import. So dito, you might be the one who's talking or listening. So ang purpose of your talking or listening is to import the subject. So bakit siya purposive communication? Kasi you are talking or listening to the message that being shared. So second is reporting on group work or assignment. So in this, you might be the one who's speaking in front of your group mates. So the purpose in this was you're reporting the message in the group of your group mates. So the third one is writing and delivering a formal speech. So in this, the best example is yung writing, yung kapag mag-a-apply ng job or yung trabaho. So for the delivering a formal speech, it can be delivered by your speech. For example, ikaw yung in charge sa pagbibigay ng formal speech before the program end. So your purpose is to deliver a formal speech. So next please. So the fourth is writing minutes of meetings and similar documents. So it is the live written record of a meeting. It is also part of purposive communication dahil your purpose is to write on what the informations you gathered in meeting. So the fifth is preparing research for technical paper. So it is also a purposive communication because you are writing a research for your technical paper. You're communicating through writing. So the last is making an audiovisual or web-based presentation. So it is also part of purposive communication because you're making a presentation. So you're spreading a message through your presentation. So next will be discussed by Mr. National. Mr. National, you may proceed.
Thank you, Ms. Pag-iwayan. For an effective purposive communication to happen, these are the skills that we need to use. For speaking and listening, I believe that it is commonly used in spoken purposive communication, and in writing and viewing skills, which I think, or which I think could also be interpreted as reading. Those two are commonly used for written purposive communications. Next po. So as an additional information, I'll be discussing the difference between oral and purposive communication. It is said here that people sometimes tend to be confused between casual oral communication and purposive communication. And we cannot blame them because oral communication and purposive communication can really be confusing. And just to clarify, as it is also stated here, casual oral communication is a part of purposive communication, which is quite obvious because we also use casual oral communication on or with purpose, like talking to your families and asking them information, or when you are talking to your friends when you want to catch up with them. Well, those proves that we use casual oral communication with purpose. And so it is also stated here that casual oral communication is usually includes or use commonly used common terms or words. But purposive communication involves specific terminologies according to the event and purpose Casual oral communication is the same for all kinds of audiences, whereas purposive communication is different for different audiences. So just as stated, in casual oral communication, we use common terms and words that we use that we use that we use for all kinds of audiences. So for example, like what I've said a while ago, in talking to your families and friends, we don't really need to use specific words or terms because we are just talking to them casually. But in purposive communication, we need or must use specific terminologies according to the event and purpose and should be different for different audiences. So for purposive communications like this example, a lecture for our engineering students will be greatly different from those belonging to the medical school. So guys, do you think that we can use specific terminologies or words in lectures of engineering in lecturing medical students? So pwede daw po ba natin gamitin yung mga specific terms or words na ginagamit sa engineering para mag-lecture sa medical school students? Okay, sagot po. Yeah, yes, kuya natin yun.
Yun po, para po sa akin, hindi po pwede yun. Sapagkat magkaiba po ng profesyon, hindi po magkakaroon ng unawaan yung dalawang panig.
Okay, yes, thank you for that. Well, I also think that is not because it would be too confusing. So, we must use, like I said a while ago, we must use specific terms for a group of audiences. Like, we must use specific engineering terms for engineering lectures and specific medical terminologies for medical lectures. Thank you. Next slide. So here are some of the elements that we can evaluate and bring out the difference between the two forms of communication. First is communication mode. In communication mode, the casual oral communication, the mode of communication is speaking. The individuals can communicate with each other casually and without worrying about the fact that they have to maintain a particular hierarchy. Well, this is not the case for purposive communication, as it can have several modes such as written and as well as oral. So in casual oral communication, as I said a while ago, we use the communication mode speaking, and we do not have to worry about maintaining a particular hierarchy or using specific words and terms, like I said a while ago. But in purposive communication, it have several modes like oral and written, and we must always put in our minds that in purposive communication we must use specific terms and words for our specific purpose. Next element is structure. In structure, for oral communication, the speaker is free to speak his or her ideas as his or her will. In the case of purposive communication, a structure and a format are used for sharing an idea or message. If it is an email or a notice, it is essential to follow the right structure of the email, such as the salutations, greetings, and others. So in structure, in casual oral communication, we can say that we are free to use any kind of structures. But in purposive communications, our structure or the structure of our message differs in every or has a format that we should use. Different formats. Like as I said here, if it is a notice or an email, we must use the proper structure such as salutations, greetings, and other stuff. Well, next, feedback. In oral communication, when you are speaking to someone, that person responds to your message in front of you and offers you feedback or a reply instantly over it. Now, when you are having a purposive communication, the feedback the feedback depends a lot on the mode of communication that you have selected. And I believe that it is also different for every purpose. Like, uh, in oral communication, in oral communication, we can freely talk to someone and they can freely give feedback to us casually. But in purposive communication, now that you're, if we are having a feedback, if we will be having a feedback for purposive communication, we must, or it depends a lot on the mode of communication that we have used or selected. Like, if we are proposing something, a proposal is an example of purposive communication. The purpose or the feedback of your proposal depends on how you propose your proposal. And the or yes the feedback depends a lot on the mode of communication that you have selected. Next, record. There are numbers of people who record conversation for the future references if required. In the case of emails, chat applications, messages shared are saved so that they can be opened up in the future whenever it is required to take references. There are even times when a certain essential data is saved separately in many cases. So, in record, casual oral communication, I think record is not commonly used in casual oral communication, but in purposive communication, we record the message or chats or anything, any information. We record information for future references. Thank you. Next.
So, thank you for that, Mr. National of this pag-iwayan. So, before I start discussing the argumentative communication, let's have a brief summary first. The purpose of informative speech is to provide interesting, useful, and unique information to the speaker audience. And the primary purpose of informative or explanatory writing is to increase the knowledge of the reader. Informative writing educates the reader by imparting straightforward information on a certain topic, while the informative speaking makes sure we avoid expressing opinion. This doesn't mean you may not speak about controversial topics. However, if you do so, you must deliver a fair statement of each side of the issue in debate. So, while the purposive communication help us to be able to communicate effectively during discussion, it will also help us to listen and convey with our own understanding of the content text. So, Let's move on now to the argumentative communication. When you heard the word argument, ano yung words, phrases, or sentences na pumapasok sa inyong isipan? Words that you can link in argument or argumentative. So, magtatawag ako Miss Hipgano. Okay, first si Miss Gallardo muna. Ano sa tingin mo yung words, phrases, or sentences na pwede mong malink pag narinig mo yung word na argument?
Debate po.
Very good. Another, Miss Hipgano. Request, Miss... Ay, okay. Sige.
Yung synonym ko sa argumentative po is quarrel.
Okay, mukhang maidadagdag pa si Miss Gallardo.
Idadagdag ko lang po kapag narinig ko yung word na argumentative. Ano po, more on reasoning and facts po siya. Ganun po.
Okay, very good and excellent for that, Miss Gallardo and Miss Hipgano. May I request Miss Althea Repumanta to read the text in the screen?
Argumentative communication. It is a logical reasoned way to demonstrate one's point of view, beliefs, conclusion, or position relies heavily on sound proof and reasoning. It is tries to make listeners, readers, believe that your idea is better based on the various reasons that you have at hand.
Thank you for that, Ms. Repumanta. So, nakikita nyo naman dito na, yung argumentative communication is, it tries to make listener or readers believe that your idea is better based on the various reasons that you have at hand. So, sa isang argument naman, di ba, alam niyo naman na may two or more person na there's always anti and pro. Sino ba namang tao na papayag na hindi ka paniwalaan ng iba or para bang mas better yung iba sa'yo, di ba? Hindi ka naman papayag sa... Argument is an exchange of diverging or opposite view. Sabi ko nga, di ba, there is always anti and the pro. The anti is not in favor while the pro is in favor. Our argument has two purpose. So, ano nga ba yung mga purpose ng argument communication? Change people's point of view or persuade them to accept new points of view. Sa isang argumento, di ba nga sabi sa inyo, may isang anti, may isang pro. So, sa isang argumento mo, matututunan yung ibang view ng isang tao or perception ng isang tao na wala ka. So, ano nga ba yung kadalasang nagiging topic in argumenting? Sa panahon natin ngayon, ang pinakang subject na ginagamit is about internet. Gaya natin, di ba? Para lang, dahil nga sa COVID, para lang makapag-aral tayo, ginamit yung internet, social media, para lang iraos kung ano yung dapat nating matutunan. So, yung iba dito, sabi, sa internet is a good invention. And it's a source of endless information. It is a hub of entertainment. Pero sa iba, gaya ng mga magulang, para sa kanila negative yung internet. Bakit? Kasi di ba karamihan sa mga kabataan ngayon, pag sinabi mong mag-aral ka, ayoko kasi gusto ko maglaro na lang ako ng ML, mga ganun, di ba? So, yung mga magulang nakikita nila na ang internet is not a good way para matuto ang isang bata. So, next slide, Miss Fernandez. So, according kay Aristotle, logos and ethos and pathos are the three primary forms of proof. Logos appeals to logic and reason by using statistic, facts, and figures. The ethos is used as a means of convincing an audience by offering reliability, honesty, and credibility. While the pathos aims to convince viewers by evoking an emotional response. So yung logos, ito yung speaker, gumagamit siya ng data, statistic, or yung mga research paper para lang ma-prove yung topic or yung perception or view na meron siya. Well, the ethos, ito na yung ginagamit ng speaker, yung kanyang status, authority, or making the audience more likely to trust them. For example is, ang kadalasan is yung ginagamit yung education degree. For example, I am a doctor, engineer ako, teacher ako. So in that way, madalas pag narinig natin yung mga ganong, parang gusto natin paniwalaan agad sila, pakinggan sila. Well, the pathos, eto na yung ginagamit ng speaker yung emotion. Pathos appeals to the emotion, trying to make the audience feel angry or sympathetic. Alam naman natin emotion can make us vulnerable, and an author can use this vulnerability to get the audience to believe that his or her argument is a compelling one. Most of the time, di ba, pag ginamitan tayo sa isang, for example is, may kaaway ka, pag ginamit na yung pangalan na, nanay mo ganto ganto, yung tatay mo ganto ganto, di ba minsan parang ang sakit pakinggan, and ay kadalasan sa mga, and eto nga sinasabi na patos na kadalasan ang pinakang ginagamit para maano natin yung emotion natin is yung parents natin, para lang makuha nila yung sympathy natin. Next slide, Miss Chelo. So the examples will be discussed by Michelle Fernandez.
So, examples of argumentative communication. So, first, the meeting de avance. It is defined as the final campaign rally done by candidates of one political party, usually the night before an election. So, dito sa meeting de avance, kinukonvince yung mga audience o yung mga boboto na to make them believe sa position ng mga tumatakbo na candidates for the last time. So, second is the debate. It is an organized argument or palitan na ideas ng mga opposing teams or parties. So, dito sa debate, isi-set aside natin yung personal views ng bawat nagdi-debate at magiging mas objective. So, nakikita nyo naman sa PPT, it is the presidential debate na nangyari nakaraan. So dito, nag-debate yung 9 candidates, and ang una nila naging topic ay kung ano yung magiging sektor na mailulunsad nila upang mapaunlad ang bansa natin. So the third is court hearings. It is the gathering or court proceeding within a courtroom that is called for the purpose of conducting some type of legal procedure. So dito yung pagsusuri or sa dahilan ng isang individual o nasasakdal sa harap ng hukom or yung tinatawag natin na judge, wherein they are allowed to parties to present evidence in support their claims. So the last is argumentative speeches. Ito yung nang-engganyo yung speaker na maniwala sa sarili niyang opinion or kung anong ang pinaniniwalaan niyang tama. So, proceed tayo sa the 3 types of argumentative communication. So, first is the debating. It is the explaining reasons why a certain theory can or cannot be considered persuading. So dito, it is a formal discussion, parang structured siya. Natatapos sa specific na oras or yung nangyari nga doon sa presidential debate na may limit lang yung time nila na pagsasagot. And argumenting, persuading the audience to support the speaker's thesis. Parang characterize discussion na pwedeng mauwi sa alitan or sa away. Kumbaga, yung argumenting is the informal, while the debating is the formal. And yung huli is audience. It's the core focus around which an effective debate is conceived and formulated. So sa audience, para magko-construct yung speaker ng isang topic which is makukuha o maengganyo sila na ipakita or i-speak yung kanilang opinion. So the next is purposes of argumentative communication. First, it is used to settle disputes and discover the truth. So meron kasi sa mga arguments na minsan nag-i-start sa misinformation kaya kailangan natin siyang ayusin. So the way ng argumentative communication, maayos siya and malalaman natin kung ano yung totoo. And second, teaches us how to evaluate conflicting claims and judge evidence and methods of investigation. So dito na susuri natin yung claims between the two parties or yung mga nagrereklamo. So nalalaman natin kung sino ba yung tama or yung mali. Pangatlo or third, help us learn to clarify our thoughts and articulate them accurately. So nakukonsider natin yung ideas ng iba sa mas maayos na paraan at hindi na mambabasa or nagiging sigurado tayo sa kung ano yung point of view natin. So fourth, for argument writing naman, to convince a reader that a point of view is valid or persuade the reader to take an specific action. So dito nahihikayat yung mga mambabasa na magstand or ibigay yung kanilang sariling stand sa isang topic and or yun sa point of view nila. And yung huli naman is for argument writing pa din, instructors assign argumentative writing so students can learn to examine their own and others' ideas in a careful way or methodical way. So, in a careful or methodical way, it helps people about basic rules of logic. Parang halimbawa na lang, ay set aside natin yung emotions natin. Kasi minsan, yung sinabi nga ni Miss Aymar, minsan yung emotions natin ay yung mas nangingibabaw kapag tayo nakikipag-argue or sa argument communication. So the way na ginagamit natin yung argumentative communication, naiiwasan natin yung paggamit ng maling argumento. And lastly, nagiging malinaw or specific na idea na nasasabi natin kaysa sa na-generalize natin yung mga idea na pumapasok sa isip natin. So, argument writing is organized by these components. So first, the claim. The position taken by the writer or what the writer is trying to prove or argue. Ito yung kung ano yung totoo, mabuti, or dapat gawin or paniwalaan. The reason provided to support a claim. Reasons are supported by evidence. So sa reason, you're making your claim. Kaysa minsan kasi na consider lagi yung personal opinion or yung paninindigan ng isang tao na walang evidence or proof. So dito sa reason, kailangan supported siya ng evidence. So yung evidence naman is used to support or prove a reason. Example, statistics, facts, quotations, surveys, or etc. So yung evidence, may possibility na mag-iba siya, depende sa field or sa topic ng argument. And another examples is the data, testimonies, and narratives. So fourth, the counterclaim. It is the opposing position or counter-argument. So ito yung kabaligtaran ng claim. Kasi yung claim is the main argument. Ito naman counterclaim is opposite siya. Parang yung counterclaim used to rebut a previous claim or contra. And the last is rebuttal. Refuses or disproves the counterclaim, addresses the criticism of the claim. So dito na yung pinagsama yung reason and evidence. Parang ito, minament neto na ma-weaken yung claim ng isang party or nung kalaban. And that's the last of the components. And the last will be discussed by Miss Presa.
Thank you for that, Miss Fernandez. So before I start to discuss the things to avoid when in argumentative communication, let's give me some info. An argument is a part of a debate, which is the whole. In other words, a debate is made up of a bunch of arguments and counter-arguments. Arguments are the proof needed to have the debate or to discuss the opposing points of views. So, the main difference between argument essays and informative essays is that Argumentative essays try to convince the reader to accept the writer's point of view, while informative essays provide information and explanation in a straightforward manner to the readers. So, what are the things to avoid when in argumentative communication? First is we should avoid using fabricated, false, and misrepresented, distorted, or irrelevant evidence to support argument and claims. One of the example here is in court hearings, hindi ka pwedeng gumamit ng mga fabricated na info or mga what do you call it? Ebidensya. Make sure na yung evidence is based talaga sa pangyayari kasi pwede kang makasuhan kung gagamit ka ng mga hindi makatotohanan at wala talagang katotohanan ng mga information. Defective patterns of reasoning. Represent yourself as uninformed or an expert on a subject when you are not. For example nga, sa isang court hearing, sasabihin mo, oh may alam ako sa ganito, pero hindi ka pwedeng sumali sa mismong investigasyon. Makakasali ka lang sa investigasyon kung ikaw yung attorney nung suspect or nung victim at ikaw ay isang pulis. Hindi ka pwedeng porket andun ka sa may pinangyarihan is ikaw na yung masusunod. Hindi yon. Magiging witness ka lang pero may mga tamang proseso. Confusing facts with opinion. Karamihan sa atin kasi 'di ba, alam niyo yung pag kumuha ka sa isang source, pinaparaphrase natin. Sa pagpaparaphrase natin, minsan dinadagdagan natin ng sariling opinion and sa argumentative communication, kailangan mo tong iwasan. Slippery slope or red herring. Yung slippery slope is an argument, a course of action is rejected because with little or no evidence, one insists that it will lead to a chain reaction resulting in an undesirable end or ends. For example, dito is yung sinasabi ng prediction. Sinasabi mo, ay bukas babagyo, bukas guguho na yung mundo. Pero kinabukasan, iba yung nangyari. That's one of example of slippery slope. The red herring is a misleading statement, question, or argument meant to redirect a conversation away from its original topic. Ang isa sa magandang example sa red herring is, kung wari may kaasaran ka, tapos napikon ka, dahil napikon ka, gagawin mo, magpapasok ka ng bagong topic para lang hindi na ulit maungkat yung topic kung saan naasar ka. So, that's the end of our reportings.
We hope you learn from us. Type 1 kung may natutunan. Again, thank you so much all of you.
Okay, so good day everyone. A pleasant day of each of you. So before anything else, I would like to introduce myself. I am Erica Pag-Iwayan and my group mates is our leader, Miss Presa. Next is Miss Sabalan and Miss Fernandez and Miss Gumban. So lastly, my partner of hosting this activity will Mr. National. So, we are the group 4 and we make an activity for you guys for today. So, now let's proceed to Mr. National. So, next slide please.
Okay, so our activity for today is debate, defined as a formal discussion on a particular topic in a public meeting or legislative assembly in which opposing arguments are put forward. So the topic for this activity has already been given to you a few days ago, and we hope that you guys have prepared well for this activity. Next, please. So the main topic of our debate is what has better purpose, argumentative communication or informative communication. So the first group will be arguing that argumentative communication has a better purpose, and the second group will be arguing that informative communication has a better purpose. Next, Miss Pagiwayan.
So for the instructions of this activity, each group member will be given 1 minute to defend their topic. So once the member hears the bell, that would indicate that their time is up and the chance to speak will be given to the other group. So can we start now, Miss Sabalan? Can you ready the timer?
Okay, everyone is ready na po ba? Okay po, please ready po. The timer is start now.
Let's hear first for the first group, which is the argumentative communication. You may proceed. The time will start now.
To start off this debate, I would like to argue that communicating through arguments serves a greater purpose. Because argumentative communication serves a higher goal, because it makes statements that are supported by evidence. Also, we convince our audience that our points of view are valid. It has two goals. To persuade someone, it convinces people to do a specific action or engage in a new behavior by changing their points of view or convincing them to embrace new points of view. Because people do not always agree on a single point of view. A skillfully phrased argument might assist us in determining what is fair or truthful. It is used to settle disagreements and seek the truth. The benefits of doing or making an argumentative communication is to persuade an audience to agree with you. We people fight in order to acquire acceptance for their positions. Even if the audience is simply one person, argumentation is a listener and an audience-oriented activity. And I agree because how can you defend yourself if you don't do it by persuading others that your viewpoints are legitimate?
So next group will be proceed. We are ready to for that. Next group, the timer will start now.
So, for us, if informative communication is a better purpose. Bakit? Ano ba ang purpose ng informative communication? Ito yung provide interesting, useful, and unique information to your audience. Interesting, bakit? Magkakaroon ng interest yung audience mo sa sinasabi mo sa kanila. Hindi ka naman pwedeng magbibigay ng information na yung audience mo tutulala lang kasi syempre hindi sila interesado sa sinasabi mo eh. Useful, kasi syempre ang informative communication is dapat talaga nagagamit kasi information yan eh. Dapat may pinanggagamitan. At kapag sinabing information, pinagpapasa-pasa, di ba? Pinagpapasa-pasahan nyo yung mga impormasyon na magagamit sa lahat ng tao. At isa pa, unique. Bakit? May information ba na hindi unique? Di ba ang information is konektado sa news? At kapag sinabing news, ito yung mga bagong impormasyon na naglalaman ng mga kakaiba na topic na ibabahagi sa sa ibang tao. Kaya naman ang informative communication ay mas may better na purpose kasi it is not only in communicating but it is also in giving information to the other people. From the word itself, informative, nagbibigay ka ng accurate na information sa audience mo, and kapag sinabing accurate, syempre, totoo yung sinasabi mo. Hindi ka nagmemema lang kasi you have your own source na pinanggalingan ng mga pinagsasabi mo. Kasi kapag informative, you are not allowed to give false information to your audience. Thank you.
So next group, you may proceed. The time starts now.
Sa argumentative communication is mapo-point out mo kung tama ba yung sinabi mo kasi may sasagot sa'yo or babalik sa yung tanong. Sa informative kasi is hindi mo malalaman na tama ba yung sinabi mo kasi walang other side, walang sasagot sa'yo. Kung naguguluhan kayo, hindi po ang argumentative communication is nakikipag-away, is meron po tayong tinatawag na argumentative personality. Ito po yung pagkatao, yung pagka-problematic ng isang tao na madadala niya sa pagkikipag-communicate. Ito ay kapag masyado ng siniseryoso ang communication. In argumentative communication kasi, we will learn to defend ourselves, express our side, and stand up for ourselves. Argumentative communication is good in a way that if two people have them, they will know which has a good point, and those who fail to express good points, they will add more to their topic and eventually correct their mistakes. Hindi kasi lahat ng panahon ay tama tayo. Need natin ng validation ng ibang tao, need natin validation ng batas, at kung feel natin mali tayo, we also need to learn from our mistakes. And the next time siguro, makaka-point out na tayo ng good. Hindi ibig sabihin ng argumentative communication gaya ng...
Thank you for that, Mrs. Gano. Next group will start. May proceed.
So hindi naman
Starts now.
So hindi naman lahat ng hindi naman kailangan ng lahat ng suggestion ng ibang tao. So informative talk is the one intends to educate the audience about the given topic. So ibig sabihin nito intense, kumbaga may pagnanais na ma-educate yung mga audience kasi hindi naman lahat ng sinasabi mo kanina, hindi lahat ng tao talagang need ng feedback nila. Kasi may mga tao naman na generally ayun yung ginagamit o ayun yung yun yung topic talaga na sinasabi nila kasi ang tina-target dito ng ng informative talk ito nga yung better purpose kasi di ba ito yung question ano daw yung better purpose na gamitin. So for sa amin is informative communication talaga. Bakit no? Ano bang gusto niyang targetin no? So in the main purpose is to inform and to enlightenment. Pag sinabing enlightenment gusto niya mahatid niya ng maayos, mahatid niya ng enlightenment para siya relevant, tapos yun nga yung sabi kanina ni Gallardo, very well said nga, and I agree na gano'n no, na talagang kailangan enlightenment or not to persuade, hindi niya na kailangan mangimasok.
Thank you for that, Mr. Bautista. The next group will start. The timer start now.
So, yung argumentative communication, di ba alam naman natin, pag merong debating, hindi tayo kumukuha ng hindi totoong ginagamit or hindi fake news yung ginagamit natin pag dumatating tayo sa debating. Di ba, bilang tao, pag nagde-debate tayo, upang panindigan yung mga bagay na sasabihin natin. Pero hindi ibig sabihin nun, hindi totoo yung sinasabi natin. Totoo pa rin yun kasi nagkakaroon dyan ng research. Bago ka pumasok sa isang debate, magkakaroon ka muna ng research yan eh. Kung tama ba yung sasabihin mo during debate. Then, sa debate kasi hindi mo kailangan ng emosyon. Kailangan mo lang mga tuwiran, katotohanan. Then, syempre, yung debate na yun, babaguhin yung pananaw ng tao. Di ba may mga time na baluktot yung katwiran ng isang tao? Diyan papasok yung lilinaw yung pag-iisip mo, yung mga baluktot na katwiran ng isang tao.
So next other group. Yes, Ms.
Hello.
Mariado.
So, kagaya nga ng sinabi nyo, may pinopoint out yung argumentative. At sa informative, wala kang at kung sa informative, wala kang nakakapalitan ng information. No. Ang information ay parang chismis yan. At ang chismis ay nagpapalitan ng usap ang dalawang tao. So, meron ka pa din nakukuhaan ng fake news sa debate at dito sa argumentative communication. Does that mean na fake news ba ang pinanggagalingan ng informative communication at hindi kami nag-search about dito? Hindi namin mababago yung pananaw ng tao galing sa informative communication?
Are you done, Ms. Sharin? Ms. Gallardo?
So habang wala
Yes,
pa,
I am asking a
habang hindi pa
question.
tumutunog yung bell, the main purpose of informative talks or speech is to spread false information and fake news. Ganun ba yung ibig sabihin ng gusto nyo iparating na yung informative message namin ay talagang fake news and hindi siya informative? So gusto ko lang magkaroon ng true or false na sagot, no? The main purpose ba ng informative, ng communication or speech? Sige, go.
Please raise your hand. Anyone? Yes, Ms. Mariado.
Hindi po namin pinopoint out na yung informative is false information. Yun po ay, ang amin pong pinopoint out is yung inform is nag-i-inform ka lang tapos walang other side. At sa argumentative kasi is it builds us na matututo tayong makipag-usap na nai-include kung saan tayo papanig or hindi. Argumentative is just communication na may agreement and disagreement between the two sides. Yun lang po.
So next, Ms. Amara. Yes?
Informative communication has a better purpose because it is critical in everyone's professional life and for working together effectively. Whether you fly a plane or you work in an office, everyone needs to be communicating information that is helpful and timely to your teammates and to your project leads. Sinasabi lang dito na hindi ang informative communication ay mahalaga lalo na sa mga kumpanya at sa pagtatrabaho lalo na kung kayo ay isang team. Katulad na lamang ng mga piloto, pag 'di ba kailangan nila ng informative na totoo dahil nga kung magkamali ka lang ng pag-inform sa mga kasamahan mo or sa mga ibang piloto, maaring ito mag-lead sa isang kapahamakan katulad na lamang ng may nasabi ka na may mangyayaring na may something na kayo nakikita na siyang dahilan para ang lahat ng tao sa isang eroplano ay bumaba at ngunit nagkamali ka sa impormasyon na pinadala mo sa kanila kaya ang nangyari lalo lang lumala at lalong nasira.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Aisgado. We got your point. So, from argumentative group, is there anyone? Okay.
So,
yes, Ms. Villanueva.
para sabihin ko na ang argumentative communication, para sa amin hindi siya chismis. Kasi 'di ba sinabi ko nga nung una, nagkakaroon tayo ng research bago tayo pumunta sa isang debate para malaman natin yung sasabihin natin doon sa pinaka-audience natin. Syempre, yung audience na yon, meron siyang ibang pananaw, 'di ba? Pero yung pananaw niya yon, totoo pa rin yon. Ayun yung base sa research niya. So makikinig lang siya sa dalawang nagde-debate kung ano yung mas gustong paniniwalaan niya. So hindi siya chismis. Nagpapaliwanag ka lang yung katotohanan tungkol doon. Tas ang unang pangunahing talaga diyan, hingayatan yung mga tao nanonood na kung ano yung yun nila tungkol sa isang topic.
So I think Ms. Villanueva is done. Is there anyone in informative communication argument who would like to refute or to answer Ms. Villanueva's statement? Informative communication group. Yes, Mr. Bautista.
So wala naman, feeling ko wala naman sa amin, no. So I disagree dun sa sinabi niya na na kasi 'di ba pag tayo nagkakaroon ng argumentative, parang feeling natin wala namang mananalo, walang matatalo kasi nga may paniniwala siya, may paniniwala din yung kabila, wala talagang mananalo, kaya talagang ang better purpose talaga natin yung gamitin talaga is informative to kasi 'di ba pag nakikinig ba tayo ng balita, narinig ba nila yung feedback natin? Although may mga feedback tayo na some point na i-view nila, pero 'di ba parang in generally talagang alam na natin na ganun yung sinasabi nila or talagang maiintindihan na kaagad natin, hindi na kailangan natin ng feedback. Iba kasi sabi lang ng sabi pero sinabi na doon, tanong pa rin ng tanong pero sinasabi na doon, main point pa rin, hindi niya pa rin maintindihan. So kasi nga dito sa informative talagang napaka-inform kasi sinasabi dito ini-educate yung isang audience o isang manonood na sumasagot kasi yung tanong na WH and H. Can you get my point? So, ayun yung who, what, when, where, why, how, paano, kung saan, kailan.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Bautista, but your time is up. So, is there anyone from argumentative group? Okay, Ms. Hipgano.
Argumentative communication means it is the art of persuading based on reason, facts, and not emotions. Hindi po maaring walang mananalo sa two sides kasi let's say for example yung korte, 'di ba pag nagtutuos tayo sa korte, meron talagang mananalo at kapag natalo ka, it means you have to accept defeat at saka learn from your mistakes kasi pag informative kasi nag-inform ka lang, hindi mo masasabi na tama yung in-inform mo or kung agree ba yung mga tao sa sinabi mo kasi nag-inform ka lang. Walang taong maaaring mag-disagree or hindi ka makaka-express ng reactions kasi nag-inform ka lang. Yun lamang po. Thank you.
So, yes, Ms. Derapite?
So, ang main point kasi nito, parehas sila nagsasabi na rin information. Pero sa argumentative kasi, naglalabas siya ng room for more interpretation. Unlike information is direct na hindi na pwede mabago ang sasabihin dahil ito ay talagang mismong ang kailangan masabi ay ng speaker. Kasi ang layunin kasi ng informative communication ay magbigay ng impormasyon na kaalaman ng mga tagapagkinig. Ito ay nakakaalam upang magbahagi ng pananaw. Mula sa kaisipan ng tagapahayag, ang wikain dialogo ay naglalaman ng impormasyon na may iwasan sa sariling interpretation ng mga nag-uusap at taliwas sa paaral ng argumentative communication dahil ito ay nagnanais nitong makahanap ng solusyon sa mga nabanggit na pahayag na maaari pang makapagsimula ng mga tagaisan na lokohiya sa dalawang partido. Kung saan dapat nito ay makabisin ng kausap nito, ito ay naglalahad ng alisin ng posibilidad na maling interpretation sa pamamagitan ng pagbibigay ng maraming pananaw. Taliwas sa mga argumentative, ito ay sarado sa opinion na kung sino man ang mananalo sa usapang kung saan ang pahayag ay tiyak na hindi magbabago. Sa madaling salita ay ang informative ay communication ay mas madaling intindihin kumpara sa argumentative pamamaraan. Ayun lang po, salamat.
Is there any other statements coming from argumentative communication group?
Violet. Now, wait. Diba, I would like to tell you all na informative communication is all about facts din po. Hindi lang ito gawang bata lang. Kaya maniniwala talaga ang mga tao kasi information are very useful nowadays than argumentative communication. Now, di ba sabi nyo na you are justifying your standpoints, argumentative communication, and you need to persuade your audience. So, para sa amin, may mas better na purpose ang informative communication kasi it is something that contains useful. Kapag sinabing useful, may purpose kasi nagagamit. Helpful kasi nakakatulong sa mga tao, relevant kasi may connection siya sa mga present issues or details na we need to convey to our audiences na wala nang halong sagutan pa kasi yung sa amin is all about giving information rather than having an argument to the other person. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Gallardo. Yes, Miss Galicia.
So, ayun nga, yung argumentative communication, argumentative is based on facts din. Siyempre, may evidences din yon. Tapos, statistics. Hindi lang siya yung hindi lang personal point of view ng kahit sino sa atin. Nag-ano siya sa yun nga, based on facts, tas real dapat totoo yung argumentation where rational communicators, yun nga, gagawin nila yung best nila to justify their standpoints in a certain context. Na, yun nga, consider na argumentative communication. Yun lang.
So go, Mr. Bautista.
Gusto ko lang i-close tong debate na to ng maayos doon sa part. Tandaan natin na matatapos to na it depends sa situation. Yung gantong usapin. Walang manalo, walang matalo. Tandaan natin itong informative at argumentative isang dalawa tong better purpose. Pero ang better purpose ay isang depends of situation. Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for that, Mr. Bautista. So to conclude all the statements that you've stated for this debate, I believe that each group has clearly stated their stance about the topic we've given, and we thank you for giving time, contemplating, and gathering ideas about the topic we've given for this activity. So I think everyone has made a clear stance about the topic we've given. And I think it is already clear that we can't really tell which type of communication has the better purpose, because each of those communications has or shines on their own purpose. But in this debate, we've got the clear sight or view of what are the main points that the communications or the type of communication has. And thank you guys for delivering ideas and giving us new ideas about the topic of argumentative communication and informative communication. You guys have done well. Thank you for participating in this activity. So again, we are group 4 and we thank you guys for your participation.